Okay, so let's jump into the subconscious mind first, because I think this is really important. I want everyone to write this quote down if you can. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And that is a quote by Carl Jung. Sorry, my allergies are still hitting me a little bit. I worked from the backyard the last couple of days and my allergies are killing me for it. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. I would love to just see in the chat thread, what is the number one thing that you feel like you are currently struggling with when it comes to your beliefs about your ability to create success? When I ask, to make that 6 figures or make that 7 figures or whatever that is, what is the biggest belief that's really holding you back? I don't deserve it. Last experiences in other companies. And that I need some skill that I don't have. I just don't believe in myself. I don't think it's for me. Imposter syndrome. Not good enough. My past rise and fall. Shannon's in a rebuild. Whew, rebuilds are fucking hard. I highly recommend you grab my F Leadership book if you don't already have it, friend, okay? My past rise and fall. I'm not good enough. I'm struggling to make sales. So I feel like it's hard for me to help my teammates. There's something I'm missing. Afraid of the success and not being able to keep it up if I do make it. Doing exactly what top leaders are doing, but not getting the same results. Okay. So I just asked you a very intentional question that forced you to go inside. That's what questions do. And that's why life coaching is all about asking the right questions. Okay. I could direct this whole conversation with the type of question that I ask. Okay. And that's what I literally teach in the questions that convert, is how to use those questions to get people moving where you want them to go. It's not true coaching, but it's using coaching elements to make sales. Okay. So by asking the right question, I just forced all of you out of your conscious state and to go into the subconscious and find the right answer. Does that make sense? Now, once we have pinpointed that, this is something that's really important. Whatever that thing was that you just said is, unfortunately, for right now, it can be fixed. It can be fixed, okay? But for right now, it is what I would call a permanent rule that your brain is choosing to live by. At some point in your life, something or some things happened. The way it gets into our subconscious is either through emotional experiences or repetition. Sometimes it's a combination. And I will say, being someone who grew up in a cult, the combination of repetition and emotional experiences made it really freaking hard. I mean, to this day, I still have thoughts that make absolutely no sense at all. And I'll stop myself and be like, what? No, the cult is still calling to me. It got ingrained so deep. And some of you are religious. Some of you here are not religious. It really doesn't matter to me whether you are or aren't religious. But I grew up in such a strict freaking world that it literally was a brainwashing. Okay. And in some ways, all of our environments are doing some type of brainwashing, but there's a really big difference between, my parents always told me that we don't have enough money, which by the way is also true for me. That was a brainwashing that happened. There's a really big difference between that and when someone attaches it to some eternal fear and judgment and shame about every single decision and choice you make in life. Okay. One time my dad caught me at the mall in the parking lot someone drove by, and this was the 90s, so they were bumping. Some of you are too young to even know what the hell that means, but that's what we called it when they had big subs and they were bumping, okay? And I was 10 years old, total innocence. I just started dancing. I was like, oh, music. And my dad looked at me like I had just invited the devil to come into our house and said, we don't dance to music like that. And in that moment, there was something that went into my subconscious that created this rule. If you accidentally even just dance to the wrong kind of music, not listen to it every single day, just accidentally dance to it, something terrible and awful is going to happen. Now, what's that terrible or awful thing that's going to happen? I mean, I don't know. No one ever really said, but that's the thing with the subconscious, is it's not necessarily dictating through any version of logic. It's only dictating through the rules that have been written. Does that make sense? That's what makes, so our subconscious mind is already so freaking powerful. And when we get it trained the right way, it can be fucking invincible. But when you get it trained the wrong way, it can literally rule your life and you start to call it fate because it doesn't feel like you have any control. Anybody here ever feel like you just, like, I don't even have control over this. It's just happening to me. And we would often call that a victim mentality. But the reality is, if you haven't learned what I'm teaching you right now, how would you have any other choice? I don't think anybody in the world is like woke up today and was like, I want to be a victim today. No one does that consciously. It's that when we have all this subconscious stuff working against us, we don't know how to be in control. Even when we try to take control, this thing is still dictating. Does that make sense to everyone? And so I'm just going to give you an example. And Amber, I'm not trying to pick on you in any way, but I just looked up and just grabbed one answer. Okay. So Amber's answer was, I'm not good enough. Okay. And I'm borrowing this one because this, in my opinion, is the root of all the other things that everybody else is saying. In some way, somehow, I'm not good enough. Yeah. So let's think about this for a second. You go to make a post. You just got to post. You just got to do it. Just got to like count to 5 and just do it. Just do it scared. Go for no. Just do it. So finally you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And you go to make a post. But remember, in your subconscious, you're already convinced that you're not good enough. So you make the post. And the post gets 4 likes and 1 angry face. There's always that asshole on the internet, right? Like, what? Why'd you put an angry face on my motivational quote? That doesn't even make sense, right? Now, if you had a subconscious mind that was programmed for abundance instead of I'm not good enough, you might have looked at that and said 4 likes and 1 angry face. Okay? This is very important, friends. 4 likes and 1 angry face is a totally and completely neutral event until your brain interprets it through the rules you have written. Does that make sense? Because there might be somebody else out there that didn't get a single like on their post. And to that person, they'd be like, dang, Kelly, you got 5 interactions? That's 5 more than I got. To that person, that could be a lot, right? But to you, because you're already convinced you're not good enough, you didn't look at the people that got less engagement than you. You looked at all the people that got more engagement than you. And because that is the rule that's in your head, I'm going to teach you guys what I call the push method. And it's something we teach inside the certification that I think Michelle is joining us for. No pressure. I just put you on the spot in front of everyone. It's okay if you don't. The push method is what we train our life coaches to use with their clients. Okay. But inside my membership that I run, I use the push method to help others to work through. So you don't learn how to use it to coach other people in the membership, but I use it on you. Does that make sense? On you. That sounds like so terrible. Like I'm like come like beating you up. I'm going to use the push method on you. Going to kick all your asses. So we have a fact. This is where everything starts. Because everything in life is just a neutral fact until our brain gets a hold of it. Okay. The fact is Amber made a post and got 4 likes and 1 angry face. That is literally the most neutral fact. No added words, no added feelings. Okay. So if someone says I only got 4 likes, that's not a fact because you added your own feeling to it, which was only. Okay. Only can't be a fact. That is that's you adding things to the event to give your own perspective. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody get that? So from here, the story that she already has, and if we were doing a coaching session, some different ones might have come out, but I'm just borrowing the one she already gave us. Because the story is, I'm not enough. I would be willing to bet a whole lot of money that there's a coinciding story more specific to this event that's saying that was such a waste of time. Yeah? Anybody ever had that? That was the story. From the story, in other words, what our brain interprets this event to mean, our brain is connected to thousands, it's actually probably millions of emotional receptors. So imagine millions of wires running from your brain to your body, okay? And there is a literal chemical reaction that happens. We call it feelings. The reality is it's just a chemical reaction to how our brain interpreted a situation. Everybody still with me? I'm trying to make this as elementary as possible, which usually happens naturally because I'm not smart enough to make it any more complicated than that, okay? So it's like I'm drawing a children's book for you. All these wires, and if the story is that was such a waste of time, it naturally creates these feelings. Now, I would just love to hear from you guys when you make a post and it goes the wrong way and you're like, what a waste of time. What type of feelings do you usually get? Would love to hear that. What feelings does that create for you? Michelle said defeat. Yeah, me too. I hate that feeling. I just decide I'm going to keep trying. Okay. Tracy's trying to coach herself already. Give me a feeling. Give me a feeling. Not what you did 2 minutes later. Give me a feeling. Disappointed. Frustrated. Don't give me the action. I don't want to hear the action that you take. See how everybody is already trying to jump to the action? Tell me about the feelings. See how many of us have already been trained by our personal growth to just avoid it and just pretend it never happened and go do something different? That's not healthy. Okay? I'm going to show you why in just a second. It creates a lot of unaligned actions. That's a real good way to absolutely exhaust yourself. Okay. So disappointed. So we're going to play with these feelings. So you make a post, you get 4 likes and 1 angry face. And as a result, you think to yourself, what a waste of time. And because of that, you feel defeated and frustrated and disappointed. And when you, in general, don't give me your personal growth answer. Okay. In general, when you feel frustrated and disappointed, what type of actions do you take? None. There we go. That sounds a little more honest. None. Avoid them. Yep. Anybody else want to be honest here? It's okay. It's fine. I promise there is a good side to this. I promise. Just bear with me. This is why, friends, this is such an important lesson. Because with all the personal growth we have done, most of us have come to this understanding. No one has said this out loud, but most of us have come to this understanding that personal growth is about avoiding all of the negative feelings and just pretending that everything is okay and going about our business. That is not growth. It is not personal growth, and it is not self-awareness. It is avoidance. Okay? Now, I'm not saying we should sit around for 12 hours every single day working through our feelings, but we need to do it a few times a week for a couple minutes or we're going to be in constant reaction mode. Okay. You will not create success in reaction mode. And if you do, you will kill yourself in the process. This is why we see some top leaders going on 9-year yoga retreats to recover from all the stupid shit they did for 5 or 6 years to build their business. And I don't want any of you to need a 9-year yoga retreat. I want you to create aligned success. Does that make sense? So when we take no actions or avoid taking the actions we should take, we teach in my certification that there's technically a couple things we do. We either take what I call buffer actions, which means we find something else to do to fill the time so that we don't have to face what it is we're dealing with. Yeah. For me, I am more of a creative type. I play 3 different instruments and played in bands all through my 20s. I will go make so many fucking graphics in Canva. I mean, Canva will just become like, new templates. Let's see. I don't know. Could we try some new colors? Maybe that's why. Josh, your reel didn't go viral because you didn't use the right colors. Let's go design some more colors, right? So that's one thing. A lot of you, this is not me, okay? A lot of you are psychopaths. I still love you. But when you buffer, you avoid your business by cleaning your house. That is actually the most common answer we get from people, is that when they feel uneasy and uncertain about their business, they go do the dishes, they go fold some laundry, because your brain wants to feel good and wants to feel like you have accomplished something. So if you don't feel like you're in control of your business, you'll go find something you are. I'm sorry, Lauren. Lauren immediately cancels the call she has scheduled with me this afternoon. She's like, hate your guts, I'm out. But this is just human nature, okay? I like to joke that you're psychopaths. I'm probably the psychopath because I should be doing the dishes more often. My wife would really appreciate it if that was my buffer activity, but it's not. It's Canva, unfortunately, okay? Now, so we either do buffer actions, okay? Or this one's really important. If you're a big time fighter, remember the fight or flight, okay? If you're a big time fighter, you end up doing what I call unaligned action, which is just as dangerous. It's the idea that, well, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm just going to force it. You know what? If that person said no, I'm going to send 40 more messages just to prove that I'm not a quitter. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the action per se. It's more of the energy and heart and perspective that you did it from. Does that make sense? Because when we are operating out of our fight or flight, it might feel like we're being productive, but often we're just punching people in the face, and that's never really been very productive. We don't always need to go to war with every single situation in our life, but if we do, we are really, really, really destroying our mental, our physical, our emotional, and our spiritual health. Okay? Especially if you're starting to get up in years like I am. I turned 41 in December, and I can tell you the difference between my energy levels at 41 and 31. I mean, I take really good care of myself, and I am in really good shape. I go to the gym 6 days a week, but it is just not like I was when I was 31, guys. When I was 31, I could have taken 10 coaching calls a day and then been like, good to go. At 41, if it's not a specific teaching call like this, I do most of my meetup calls, as Michelle found out this morning, audio only, just to save my fucking eyeballs. Because I'm just like, been staring at screens all day for 10 years. My eyes need a break. My brain needs a break. So it's just different. And this is, I think, what we see happen a lot is people hustle their ass off for 5 or 6 years, get burned out. And then we also see a lot of leaders not showing up the way they used to show up. And for some of them, it's because they haven't learned how to coach themselves into aligned action, where we can still do the right thing, but it doesn't need to be out of frustration and out of anger and trying to prove something. Does that make sense to everyone? So whether we are taking unaligned action or buffer actions, we do end up manifesting something. Okay. So manifest is a really overused word in the woo-woo world, and I got nothing against the woo-woo world, but manifest is really just what tangible result you actually end up creating in the world. Okay? The reason, I don't have a problem with the woo-woo world, but the reason some of the manifestation stuff rubs me the wrong way is because they skip all of the lines in the push method except for feelings and manifest. That's all they care about. If it feels good, it'll manifest good. That's bullshit. Okay? I have never once put on muscle laying on the couch imagining it. Now, sometimes I lay on the couch imagining it to inspire myself to go to the fucking gym. But the reason I manifest my muscles growing is because of taking the action of going to the gym and then hitting all my protein goals. Okay? It wasn't just because I felt it and imagined it and visualized it. The whole point of all of that is to get you into action, not to just magically create something. Does that make sense for everybody? But let's take a look at this. Amber makes a post. She only gets 4 likes. Sorry, only. I got to get rid of that. That's not a fact. See how hard it is? Amber makes a post. She gets 4 likes and 1 angry face. She then interprets it through her own brain. What a waste of time. And so she feels frustrated. And because she feels frustrated, she either goes and does the dishes if she's like Lauren, or goes and plays on Canva if she's more like Josh. And because she goes and plays on Canva or does her dishes and doesn't actually learn from the experience, doesn't lean in to find out what could I have learned from this, instead, she ends up manifesting. Check this out. You're going to see something crazy. This is a crazy magic trick. It works 99 times out of 100. What was the story? I am wasting my time. Can we all agree that for the sake of her business, if she's doing the dishes or playing on Canva, she's literally wasting her time? Does that make sense? And then 6 months goes by and Amber is like, I think I'm going to quit this business because this whole fucking business is a waste of my time. And she feels completely powerless because it seems like no matter what she does, she keeps getting the same result. The reality is, Amber had the ability to take control at any time. But she was stuck in a subconscious cycle that kept her pre-programming in control instead of having any conscious awareness of what is actually happening to change what is being manifested. This is important. The only way to change what you are manifesting is to go back to the story and pick one that serves what you actually want. Now, just want to be very clear about something. Fixing your mindset does not guarantee that you will have success, but it opens the door for the opportunities to do the things it takes to get success. Notice how when we were stuck in this subconscious cycle, Amber didn't do anything to learn how to get more engagement. She didn't do anything to analyze the work that she had done and figure out how to make it better. So I'm not saying that you don't need social media strategy, because I do think you do. You absolutely do, and that's why I teach it. But if we're in the wrong headspace, no amount of social media training in the world will ever matter. She can pay the best coach in the world at helping people go viral, But anyone who teaches how to go viral also talks a lot about consistency and learning from the data and tweaking things and making changes. And how many of you can now see if she has it stuck in her head that she's not good enough and this is a waste of time, she will never be able to stick with any process long enough to find out if it even works. Does that make sense to everybody? So until we make the unconscious conscious, it literally rules our life, but we accidentally call it fate. So in my 20s, I started and quit 6 different businesses. And I got to the point where I was like, God hates my guts. Because I have this strong desire to help people and make a better life for my family. But every single time I get an idea that is literally just like charging me in the most, like I am so excited about this idea. It's so awesome. It's so amazing. I go to start and see initial success. And then 3 or 4 weeks in, it feels like I run into a brick wall. And I just become totally paralyzed and I don't know what to do. And the only thing I know to do to get rid of these overwhelming feelings is to just quit. Because every time I quit, the feelings are gone. Oh, what a relief. I just quit. Now I'm good. Except I'm not good. So I'm still stuck with the same stupid shit I was trying to fix. I just got rid of the pressure. So here's what I started to realize. Once I got certified and started learning about all this subconscious stuff, you know what I realized? I was told this analogy as a child growing up in the cult. We had a lot of really good stories and analogies to make it really grip. And I was told this from the age of 4, that if 2 planes leave LA headed to New York at the same time, and one of them sticks to the path and one of them gets 1 degree off the path, by the time the one lands in New York, the other one will land somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Because even if you miss God's plan by just 1 degree, over time, that can take you completely off track and totally derail you. As a 4-year-old, I was essentially brainwashed into thinking that there was an absolute perfect will of God for every single thing in my life. And if I missed it by 1%, I was going to drown in an ocean. Just for funsies to make it extra triggering, I literally almost drowned when I was 5. So that makes it even scarier. On like a subconscious, even deeper, like meta level. It's like 3 layers down, I'm afraid of drowning. And that happened to be the analogy that was used over and over and over. So here's what I realized. In my 20s, every time I started up that business and got going, that thought that I kept running into that felt like a brick wall. Here's what's crazy. We as humans are 100 times more aware of our emotions than we are of the thought in our brain that created the emotion. Does that make sense? So normally the average person isn't like, oh, I made this post the other day. And you know what happened? I had this thought, I'm not worthy. No, that's not what we do. We usually say, I made this post the other day and it sucked and I feel terrible and awful and we are almost never consciously aware of the thing that triggered off the feeling. Does that make sense, everybody? And so through doing a lot of life coaching during my certification and digging through a lot of stuff, I started to realize the thought that I kept unconsciously. I would not have told anyone this because I wasn't conscious enough to realize it until I started thinking back and dissecting it all. Every single time I had this thought over and over and over. What if this isn't the right thing and it's taking me away from God's plan? That was the thought I had over and over and over. And because it was so deep rooted into my subconscious, it sabotaged everything. Because my brain had made a rule that basically said, if you are in God's perfect plan, you are good. If you are even 1% off, you are bad. And Josh did not want to be bad. So I essentially had this choice that was either go ahead and move forward and possibly be bad, or quit, and maybe you're not moving forward in life, but at least you're good. And this is really important. 99 out of 100 of us will never, ever, ever, ever take an action that makes us feel out of alignment with our character. And because that was my greatest character trait that I was taught growing up, if something pulled me away from that, I had to quit it right away. Does that make sense? For some of you, you're scared to death of rejection. And because of the fear of rejection, you're scared to death of coming across as salesy or spammy. Nobody wants to be a spammy Tammy, right? And because of that fear of coming across as being spammy, you never message anybody because you're so afraid it might accidentally offend someone or make someone think something about you. And so because of that, you're given this choice. Am I willing to go against my own character of being spammy to someone? Or am I just going to accept the fact that I'm not going to make any sales this month? And 99 out of 100 people will choose to accept the fact that they're not going to make any sales because that's better than being out of integrity. Does that make sense? And that is why all of my ads for the questions that convert, as Kelly saw, say something like, without being spammy, without, like I literally take the limiting belief. Sorry if I'm getting ahead of myself. This is more of the sales and marketing. I find out what your limiting beliefs are about the things I'm going to teach. And then I use titles and subtitles to overcome the limiting belief you have about the thing I'm going to teach so that you're more open to learning it. Does that make sense? When you understand the subconscious mind, friends, it becomes 100 times easier to fix your mindset because it's really the only way. It also makes you a fucking genius at sales and marketing when you start applying it to the messaging and the way you interact with others. Does that make sense?